10.1 Areas of parallelograms and triangles. So first we're going to actually talk about perimeter, though I know this is titled area. And to talk about perimeter, we're really talking about the area. So to find it, all we need to do is add up all of the side lengths. So here we have a triangle with sides 4, 5, and 6. To find the perimeter, we're literally going to just add 4 plus 5 plus 6, and that's going to give me 15 centimeters. Perimeter is one-dimensional, so it's just centimeters. All right, for B, we have 9 plus 9 plus 9 plus 9, and that's going to give us 36 feet. All right, for the next one, again, we're just going to add them all up. So my perimeter is going to be 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 8 plus 7, so that's going to give me 35 inches. For the next shape, we have a parallelogram here, it appears. So our perimeter is 10 plus 12 plus 10 plus 12, and that's going to give us 44 millimeters. All right. For the next, my perimeter is going to equal 2 plus 4 plus 3 plus 4, and that's 13 kilometers. And lastly, our perimeter, we have 4 plus 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 8, and that is going to give us 25. So 25 feet. All right. So remember from chapter 9, we talked about circles as well. And we talked about the circumference of a circle, which is basically the perimeter of a circle. And we had two different formulas. If I know the diameter, it's pi d. If I know the radius, it's 2 pi r. So here in part A, this is my radius, that is 13. So our circumference is going to be 2 times pi times r. That's 26 pi centimeters to be exact, or we can use the pi button in our calculator, and that's going to give us about 81.7 centimeters. All right, for the next one, this 11 is actually referring to the diameter. So C is equal to pi times D, or pi times 11. So we get 11 pi yards, or we could round this. And if we do 11 times pi in our calculator, we're going to get about 34.6 yards. All right, so that's perimeter. Next, we're going to talk about area. And for area, we have the area addition postulate. And what it says is that the area of a region is the sum of the areas of its non-overlapping parts. So in a parallelogram, our area is going to be base times height. And basically, a parallelogram is really just a rectangle. A rectangle is a type of a parallelogram. But if I were to chop off this triangle, I could attach it to the side over here, and that would actually create a rectangle. So we can use the height, the vertical height, and the base, and it's just like length times width. All right, so here what's going to make this a little tricky is it's not always so straightforward what that part is. Okay, so in this case, we do not know what the height is, and we're going to need to find the height first. So what we're going to focus on is this triangle over here. I have a right triangle. It's a triangle that has 60 degrees in the corner. I need to find H. That's the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse. If you knew special right triangles, you could use that, but we're going to use sine here. So sine of 60 degrees is equal to the height over 4, multiplied by 4 on both sides. So 4 times sine of 60 is going to give us the height of this parallelogram. And that is something, just make sure you are in degree mode in your calculator. And you are going to get, let's see, I believe my mode is, nope, we're good. We're going to get that our side is 3.5 about. Okay, so now what we're going to be able to do is to multiply. So we have that we have our base, which is 5.5. We have our height, which is 3.5. So our area is going to equal base times height. That's 3.5 times, or 5.5 times 3.5. So 5.5 times 3.5 is going to give us 19.25. Now we're going to say feet squared because area is in square units. It's 2 dimensions. All right, let's take a look at this next one. Again, I do not know the height. The height would be this right here, but I have 7 over here, so I can find the height, okay? So our sine of 45 degrees is going to equal the height over 7. So I multiply by 7 on both sides, and 7 times sine of 45 will be our height, and that's going to be about 4.9. All right, so we're going to have our base, which is 14, our height, which is 4.9. Our area is base times height, so that's going to give us, let's see, 14 times 4.9, and 14 times 4.9 is 68.6 square yards, or yards squared. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Same thing. Again, we're missing that height. So in order to do it, we need to use sine. Sine of 45 is going to equal the height over 22, which means the height equals 22 times sine of 45. All right, so 22 times sine of 45 is about 15.6. That's my height. This is my base. Area is equal to base times height, so that's going to give me 26 times 15.6. And when I multiply, I'm going to get 405.6. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So we have 18.5 is the base, and actually we do have the height here. It is 9, so I can multiply these together. So my area is going to equal base times height, so that's 18.5 times 9. And when I multiply that together, that's going to give us 166.5 kilometers squared. All right. The height of a parallelogram is 10 feet more than its base. So we have a parallelogram. Here's the height. The height is 10 feet more than its base. All right. So the height would really be equal to the base plus 10 feet more than the base. We know what the area is. We know area equals base times height. They're telling us the area is 1,200. We don't know the base, but we know the height is the base times 10. Now we can figure out the base and the height. So what we can do here is distribute. We have 1,200 is equal to b squared plus 10b. We can subtract 1,200 from both sides. And now we have two options. We can either factor or we can use the quadratic formula. Whichever is easier for you is perfectly fine. All right, so we could, if we factor this, we could use 30 times 40. So that's going to give us 0 equals b plus 40, and this is b minus 30. We can set them both equal to 0. We're going to get that b is negative 40, which doesn't make sense, or that b is positive 30. That makes more sense. So our base is going to be 30 feet, and then we can plug that back in to figure out the height. So if we plug in that 30 here, that means our height is going to be 30 plus 10. So our height is going to be 40 feet. All right. We have the area congruent postulate, and what that's saying is that two figures are congruent. If they are congruent, they have the same area. So in the figure below, a parallelogram is cut in half along a diagonal to form two congruent triangles, which means this portion is going to have the same area as this portion, and that's by the area congruence postulate. So two congruent triangles will have the same area. So one triangle with the base and height has half the area of that parallelogram. All right, so here we also have the area of a triangle. Area of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height. And this is really like a right angle in here. So let's find the area of each of these. Well, I have my base. My base here is 18. I actually also have my height, which is 12. My height is always vertical. This is just extra information that I don't need. So we're going to find the area of this shaded triangle. This is going to give us 1/2 times 18 times 12. So that's my area. And let's see, when I multiply those three numbers together, I'm going to get 108. That's millimeters squared. All right, again, we want the shaded area. This is my height. This is my base. So we don't even need to worry about this portion. We're just finding the shaded area. So my area is going to equal 1/2 times 17 times 17, and 1/2 times 17 is going to give us 144.5 inches squared. All right. The base of a triangle is half of its height. All right, so here's a triangle. Here's the base. The base equals half of the height. Here's the height. If the area, so area equals 1/2 base times height. If the area is 196, find the base and the height. Well, we just said the base is half of the height, and the height is the height. So let's multiply this together. When we multiply all that, that's 1/4 times height squared. Well, to get rid of the 1/4, I can multiply by 4 on both sides. So 196 times 4 is going to give us 784. That equals height squared, and square root both sides to undo squaring. The square root of 784 is going to give us 28. So the height is 28. Then we can plug in here and say the base is half of the height. So the base is going to equal 14. And in this case, we're talking about millimeters. Especially this unit, we should make sure that we are using our units.